Hello and welcome to the Bike Show. This week we've come to you from the world's biggest Ducati dealership here at Ducati Johannesburg. And as usual, we've got an absolutely packed show, but we're going to start with a bike I've been looking forward to for months. I've been filled with anticipation, desperate to ride this brand new Aprilia Tuono. But unfortunately, Donovan got there first.
This is KTM's mighty Super Duke. And last year we loved it so much that we even voted it as the Pirelli Bike of the Year. And if you've forgotten why we love it, take a look at this. But now it's a year later, and obviously there are new contenders vying for its coveted title. And here is one of them. Now this is Aprilia's Tuono V4 1100 RR. Now Tuono is the Italian for thunder, and the thunder from this bike comes from that now bigger V4 1077cc engine. The power is now up to 175 horsepower, the Newton meters are up to 120, but all of that is just numbers. Really, with bikes like this, the only way you can tell what it's like is to actually take it on track. Before we do anything, let's just listen. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Thor, the god of Tuono. But there's more to any bike than just good sound, which is why we've come here to Red Star Raceway, the perfect place to test a motorcycle like this. For those of you that don't know, Aprilia is Italian for the god of good handling, which is exactly what this bike does. They make use of an aluminium chassis, the same aluminium chassis they've used for years, and an aluminium chassis that they've become very good at making. They combine this with some of the top-of-the-range SAC suspension and also some of the top-of-the-range Brembo brakes for an ultimate cornering experience. They also use their APRC system, which is famous for two things, being the world's least catchiest acronym and for its sophistication. In fact, it's some of the most sophisticated electronics you'll find on any vehicle anywhere. You know it's good because you can't feel it working. In fact, to actually feel something happen, you have to turn the traction control right up, and then you'll only feel a little bit. But there's got to be more to any bike than just good sound and good handling. What about the engine? The engine on this new Tuono is brilliant, don't get me wrong, it's good, but it's not the best. What they've done is they've added 78 cc's to the capacity, but instead of going for chart-topping horsepower, they've said, why don't we make it more rideable? Which is ridiculous, because rideability is an excellent thing on a touring bike, an adventure bike, or even a lap record-breaking superbike. But on a bike like this, they can't actually do any of those things. What's the point? Why not make it completely unrideable? Give it so much horsepower, so much torque, that the bike will pop into an uncontrollable wheelie just by looking at the throttle. Why not make every single ride a lesson in thrill and excitement, verging on the brink of death? Why settle for less? Why settle for all this namsy, pamsy bullshit?
Shut up, Donovan! You've been at those funny mushrooms in the garden again, haven't you? I told you about that. It turns you into even more of a dribblingly insane fool. How can you possibly say, and you're being unreasonable about this, how can you possibly say this bike doesn't have enough power or speed to be as devilishly stupid as you could wish for? I mean, really, what do you want? Really? I mean, what else could you ask for? 175 horsepower, it's hardly a small number, is it? In fact, it's the same claim figure that Honda claims for its main superbike, the Fireblade. Donovan is right about one thing, though. This is a truly special chassis. It's brilliant around a track, but with an amazing level of compliance in the suspension, somehow it manages to give a spookily good ride quality on the road as well. And that's a very useful feature when you've got to live in the real world, unlike Donovan, where we've got potholes like this and gravel all over the roads. So anything that makes the riding experience more easy, more pleasurable, less intense has got to be a good thing. 175 horsepower is as intense as any human needs, but with great suspension and an electronics package which can be adjusted like you can't believe. So you can turn your ABS on or off, adjust it. Same with your traction control. It's got launch control and wheelie control, which might sound like something I wouldn't enjoy, but when you're really out thrashing hard on public roads, occasionally the bike will wheelie when you don't want it to, like when you change direction. So it is actually a useful safety feature. Sporty naked bikes, it's an incredibly hotly contested class at the moment. And if this Aprilia hasn't gone right to the top of that class, it's come very, very close indeed. This is a truly special motorbike. And are you sticking by your story?
In retrospect, perhaps I was a little bit harsh, but come on, you've got to admit, they should have given it just a bit more power.
No, I don't have to admit that at all. It's 175 claimed horsepower, it's damn fast, it's a naked bike. You can't get the top speed anyway because there's just too much wind. It's utterly fantastic.
It does beg the question, how much is enough then? I mean...
Okay, but I mean, bikes like this, you know, they're giving them rider modes, for example. They've got all this ride-by-wire throttle. As far as I'm concerned, it should be A, B, C mode, C, dull, B, normal, A, absolutely terrifying.
Well, that's Donovan. He wants to be terrified by a bike. So, I mean, what is your ideal bike then? If it's a naked bike, what's the ideal?
I would say this chassis, because it's brilliant. I mean, admit it is brilliant.
Yeah, it's superb.
But I would put a Super Duke engine in there and then give it more power.
But you're talking about power. The Super Duke is only claiming, I think, 5 horsepower more, 180 to 175.
5 horsepower more, but it's 20 more Newton meters. I mean, the Super Duke makes the same Newton meter output as this thing does at like 4,000 RPM.
Well, so suppose it depends whether you're like a V4 or a V-twin. Look, you've got 1,300 V-twin. You're never going to be able to compete with that in terms of torque production, are you?
Not they are. That's the thing. It is up against that V-twin.
The Super Duke's a bit more expensive.
That's true, okay. Rob a bank.
Yeah, okay, enough bickering. Come on, let's cut to the chase. Rating, a TomTom rating, what are you going to give it? Matt?
I think it's so... Well, nothing's ever perfect, but in terms of our TomTom rating, it's got to be pretty close to 5 out of 5, really. What more could you want?
No, I'd say, really, come on, give it a bit more power to be a 5, but I'd say 4.
I have to disagree. You're awfully harsh, Donovan.
I'm awfully harsh, but I mean, you've got to be critical about these things. This is serious.
Oh, stop it, both of you, stop it. Okay, I've also written both of them, so I've got the casting vote here.
And?
It's a 5.
It's a 5?
It's a 5.
Oh.
Donovan's
going to... Sorry, put your lip away.
Put it away. Do you want a hanky?
All this shows is that democracy doesn't work. End of story.
When we want your opinion, Don, we will give it to you.
Okay, well, look, we've already mentioned the Super Duke as a competitor. I'm sat next to something here, and we're going to get in another argument here, Donovan, because this is the Ducati Monster. It's available for even less money. Makes, I'm going to remember now, about 145 horsepower. Which, as far as I'm concerned, is enough.
It's just as much fun.
This is just as much fun, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Bang on.
Damn it, okay, I kind of agree with you, because I look at the figures and I think, oh, that monster, really, they could have... And then I ride it and think, wow, this is so much fun.
It also makes a great sound. It's Italian, it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
This is something about Ducatis, you admit it, that on paper they may not always look the best, but when you ride it, there's just something else about them that kind of just speaks to you, and suddenly all those facts don't really matter.
Don't matter, that's true. Okay, but there is one manufacturer who always relies on facts and seems to miss out on what Ducati does, which is BMW's S1000R. That is clinically a superb motorcycle.
But you've just, the crux is you've just said the word clinical. There's no soul emotion. I mean, these things, it's just all about emotion,
It has the performance of all of these, but it's kind of missing a little bit, whereas the Monster's the opposite. It doesn't have the performance, but it has that little extra something.
Yeah, okay, well, Harry, you're sat next to GSX 1000, that's Suzuki's latest naked bike. I mean, that kind of sums up another part of the naked sport bike equation, doesn't it?
This is Suzuki's new naked sports bike. You tested the third version. It's the F version. This is exactly the same bike, exactly the same mechanically, same power, but it just doesn't have the fairing. Now, we're not sure what price it's going to be yet, but it's going to be around 140,000
Yeah,
rand.
140.
But it's a simple bike compared to something like this. I mean, it's got ABS and traction control, but it's got none of the wheelie control, none of the, everything that this thing has.
But it's still a viable alternative. I thought the bike was lovely, and Kawasaki also does something very similar with its Z1000.
That's
So
true.
the Japanese haven't really entered this whole technology and horsepower war. They've kind of said, okay, off you go, European.
Yeah,
We'll stay here and be cheaper at the same time.
Yeah, exactly, and it's still a stunning bike. It's still plenty fast enough for the average rider.
Don't get Donovan started again.
I'm sorry,
I don't think
I'm sorry.
I can bear to listen to any more. I think we need to stop it here. Let's go to an ad break. We'll be back shortly.